started writing the book right after September 11th. All my family wanted to know what happened, and I couldn't bear to even speak of what I had just lived through. And so the first bit of writing I did was this long email I sent to my family about what had happened so that we could just talk about how I was doing, but I wouldn't have to recount it all. I always talk about healing evolution, and so definitely I have been healing, and there's always, just like an onion, a whole other layer. There's been many evolutions of my healing, of how I'd want to honor those who passed, how even going into worse throughout the years has triggered me into sadness. Every year I have written in my journal and have recorded how I have been feeling with the wars that we have continued to be in. Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, so many countries. And so I have all these different journals. And so writing has also been such a cathartic process for me to share it all and to let my heart be seen. What really awakened in me that day was two things. Finally getting to the church and experiencing my energy. And then when I went back home to my trees and mountains and did a 10-day meditation, also experiencing my light and my energy. So what's awakened in me, what September 11th awakened in me is me experiencing through trauma and through a moment of peace that light force, the life force, that God is always with us through trauma or through peace. In the cab ride on September 11th, my whole life comes out before me. I just escaped death. I just escaped Tower 1, and I'm in the cab with Anthony. And so everything comes out, all my childhood memories. And the question that I begin to process is, why would someone want to kill me? In answering that question of why would someone want to kill me, I really look at our country and what our country has done to my ancestors, to my Native American ancestors, to my African ancestors, done by my European ancestors. The book really goes through my American immigrant experience, and as a Latina, that's my ethnic group, but racially I am mixed. I am European, African, and Native American. And so much of my experience is through all those lenses. And I have Western Hemisphere history running through my veins. September 11th also awakened me spiritually because I did not know that what I was experiencing was PTSD, and I knew I needed help and I needed to do something completely new. I had prayed a lot and been on my knees and cried a lot, and that was really important, and my relationship with God was crucial. But I also had to step outside of my comfort zone and learn from other cultures. September 11th awakened really my my desire to live and to realize that it was going to take new action. It was going to take me doing uncomfortable new things to actually heal myself. No one was going to save me but me. Within my spiritual awakening, I had to know that I had cultural blind spots, and I was prepared to do something new, a 10-day meditation. I mean, who meditates for 10 days? Who sits in silence and doesn't write, doesn't exercise, doesn't listen to music, and is truly by themselves for 10 days? What also allowed me to heal and transform my spiritual life was me trying new ways of healing and reclaiming my Native American roots. It took me a long time to write my book because throughout the years, I have also been searching for new ways to listen to the sacred, learning new ways to relate with God, and truly have other cultures and other spiritual modalities really inform me and help me on my healing journey. Even though I started writing my book in 2001 after escaping the 46th floor, but I have journaled my whole life, and journaling has been so crucial to my healing process. Meditating has been crucial to me being self-aware, me being able to watch myself and watch the stories in my mind and to observe the emotions that come up with that story. And then also to be able to know what's going on in my body. Where am I feeling hot? Where am I feeling aches and contraction? And in that process, I realized, wow, the 3 pillars of human behavior, that dynamic is so crucial to my healing. You see, when you're able to observe the dynamic between your mind, your emotions, and your bodily sensations, you start creating that space. I'm so good at especially with PTSD, I have been so good at just reacting. And meditation has allowed me to create that space where I can watch what's happening within me and then breathe and then think, okay, what response can I choose to make? Especially this year in preparing for my book reading 19 years after the fact and planning it within a pandemic, within unhealed racial justice and economic uncertainty. The tools that have helped me heal are exactly what's allowed me to be able to complete my book so many years later. There were parts, many moments after surviving the 11th that I was completely afraid of leaving my home. And I feel like we are all going through that right now. We have this fear of leaving our home, and rightfully so. And even for me, seeing the threat then, other people couldn't understand that. But I feel like now, with everyone having to be healthy and take precautions, I feel that now people can understand what it feels like to be afraid to leave your home. In my book, I share a lot about what I learned in my life, and especially I love history. And because I have always been searching for what does it mean to be Latino? How am I European, Native American, and African? And so in a lot of that learning comes out, I share it in my book. And it has allowed me to really help others see their cultural blind spots and how it's keeping them from their next best self. I never realized how much the healing process and waiting so many years is serving me. And because I feel that my book finally gets to serve so many during a time when we have fear of leaving our homes, during a time when we are so separated from each other and have a lot of compassion fatigue, especially with us moving forward with our cultural blind spots and not realizing that we have them. I think the beauty is also seeing so many people realize I do have a cultural blind spot and I do want to make things better. And so I feel that my book can really help everyone right now through this crisis. I wouldn't have known that my faith or my thinking, is a good foundation, but that it would actually sometimes be a disadvantage. And I realized that when I had to heal and I needed new meaning, I needed value statements from other cultures, I realized that everything I had been taught was not enough to truly be complete. And I feel that humanity is living that question out right now. Much of my work is bringing back self-awareness techniques with also understanding the thinking that has created the reality we find ourselves in. We want to change this world, but we have to also understand the thinking that brought us here, so that as we change laws and structures, most importantly, we're changing the thinking that informed those structures. Much of my work in education policy, I always found myself being a bridge between community and district leaders, and racism would come up. And it would always be this big elephant in the room. And I have to say, to see today that so many are freely discussing it and actually trying to learn from each other is just very heartfelt. We are all looking to change this world and to really be the change that we want to see. But we all have a different way of changing, of transforming. And in many ways, I sometimes take the approach of looking at our past and past thinking to see how it brought us here and the dynamics we find ourselves in. Hearing from a student that they knew about laws, but they didn't really truly understand how so many laws are not neutral and have actually been extremely oppressive to Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Hearing a student say that really allowed me to realize that all these years of studying US history and studying the history of the Americas has truly allowed me to share the history that has brought us to the dynamic we find ourselves in. I am extremely confident that those with big hearts and those who are willing to just listen and yearning to understand is really going to be the change that we're looking to see.